Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned. Listen to their screams.
Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast that feels like you're chatting with friends. I am one of your friends, Dave. We're joined as always by your other friend, Ike. Ike, how are you?
I'm doing pretty spectacular. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. The day this is released, it is officially Thanksgiving. And depending on when you listen, if you listen to it later in the day, by this time, I will be absolutely stuffed and in a prone position somewhere. So I fully intend to just eat myself into a zombie-like state.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I'm ready for some good food. I'm ready just to be off work, have a few days off, and just chill for the holidays. I'm ready for it.
Yes, me too. And keeping in the holiday spirit, today's movie that we're reviewing is Thanksgiving, the new Eli Roth movie that's out in theaters. We're going to talk about that later in the show. Before we get there, we'd like to give a special thanks to our wives, Monica and Kayla, especially on the holiday, because both of them will be doing plenty of cooking to help fatten us up even more. So thank you for that. Before we get into everything else, Ike, did you watch anything this week?
Honestly, I didn't. I have been going back through and watching some playthroughs of some of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, but I haven't really watched anything of substance otherwise.
Me neither. Actually, I don't think I've watched much of anything. It's crazy. It's always around this time with people being off at work. I'm super busy, so I often forget to turn stuff on even. So nothing of note then either. So there you go. If anybody just tunes in to hear the "What Were We Watching" segment, well, you've been sorely disappointed. I'm sorry. But I don't know why you're just tuning in to hear that, but oh well. But that does bring us to our weekly segment,
Stump the Cohost.
And this week we are hooking around for our trivia game called Stump the Cohost. This is the one that Dave doesn't do very well in. And let's see here. We have played eight rounds of trivia, including the Halloween. And we have, let's see, Ike has won 4, I have won 1, and we have had 3 draws. So Ike is 4-1-3. I am 1-4-3. So there you go. Maybe I can get another win. I'm not out of the running yet, but we are running out of weeks in the year. So yikes. So let's see what we can do about that today. Ike, do you have your cards ready?
I surely do.
All right. Since you're in the lead, I'm going to put you in the hot spot, defending. I'm going to give you a question first. So your first question is, in what movie could you find 3 individuals out in the woods with a video camera searching for a witch?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to say that's the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, that's it. Good God. Come on. How come the trivia gods just they're not helping me any? Not at all. All right. So Ike's officially up 1-0. So let's see what happens. I usually don't play very good from behind. I don't play very good, period, but let's see what happens.
I have a feeling you've got this one. All right.
Okay.
Who was the host in the Tales from the Crypt TV series?
Well, that would be the Crypt Keeper.
That is correct. The Crypt Keeper himself.
All right. I actually got an easy one. Woo. All right. Your second question. What 2017 Netflix film involves a boy who accidentally witnesses a cult ritual in his house and has to survive the night?
I think it's called My Babysitter is a Serial Killer, or My Babysitter is a Killer, or something like that.
Is that your final answer?
No, I mean that makes me sound. No, that definitely makes it sound like that's not right. It's like It's my babysitter is something, or my babysitter did something. Obviously, I'm not going to look it up, but I know it's my babysitter is a something, but I cannot figure it out. I can't remember.
It is just called The Babysitter.
Oh, yeah, yep. Man, yeah, because
All
there's
right.
2 of them.
Here we go. I've got a chance. Go ahead with
All
my
right.
second question.
Based on a book written by Jay Anson, what 2005 supernatural remake stars Ryan Reynolds and Melissa George?
Oh, that'd be Amityville Horror.
That is correct.
I didn't know about the book part, but the remake Ryan Reynolds. All right. I'm actually in the lead for once. Holy shit. All right, here we go.
I'm ready.
What room number, also the title of the movie, is a paranormal hotspot in this 2007 film starring John Cusack?
Oh my god. I know what it's called. It's something 6-1. Oh man.
I wouldn't know
I'm
this.
gonna,
I haven't seen this movie.
so I don't actually know the movie. Like, I've not seen it, but if I remember correctly, it's like, oh, I think it's 4 numbers. Because, like, I want to say it's based off of, like, a hotel room from, whatever the hotel is from The Shining. Or it's supposed to be, like, loosely inspired or something like that. So, is it 1408?
It is 1408, yes.
Okay, because it's got Sam Jackson in it. I know that. It's John Cusack and Sam Jackson. Never seen it, but I know of it.
All right, we're tied 2-2 again.
I have a feeling you're going to get both of these. So I'm already preemptively ready for my loss. But what type of virus is released in the 2016 movie Train to Busan?
Well, I have not seen the movie, but I'm pretty sure it's just I don't know. I mean, there's zombies, so I guess it's a zombie virus. I don't know if there's a name for it or whatever, but
You are correct. It is
okay.
the zombie virus.
All right. Well, I was hoping there wasn't a name for it or something, because I was like, I don't know.
No creative name for the zombie virus this time.
All right. Well, here we go. Here's your last question. And if you miss this, I have automatically won this round. Woo!
That is right.
Oh my. And this is a fitting question because this is a movie off the Dave watch list.
Oh boy.
What was the name of Buffalo Bill's dog in The Silence of the Lambs?
I don't know.
Should have watched the movie.
I really should have. Should have watched fucking Silence of the Lambs. Goddamn.
Been telling you.
It's probably something stupid. It's probably a stupid name. Lucky. His dog's name is Lucky.
His dog's name is Precious.
Well, there you go.
Woo!
My lack of watching Silence of the Lambs has aided you today.
I have pushed you for weeks to watch that movie, and if you had listened to me. So, all right, I do have one more question, even though I've already won. Yeah. But let's see if I can get all 4.
All right. What 2014 horror comedy is about beavers becoming zombies?
No, I have not seen this movie yet, but it's on my watch list because it sounds just ridiculous enough for me to like it. This is Zombievers.
That is correct.
Like I said, I only know that because that movie sounds stupid enough to me that I would like it. And I have not watched it yet, but it is a movie that is on my list to watch.
I have seen it streaming, like I've seen it on a streaming service, and I see it and it makes me crack up every time I see it. So I will eventually watch it.
Yeah, it sounds very silly, but you know, I typically like silly movies.
That's right.
All right. So Dave got the win there. So I'm on a roll. I won 2 in a row, counting the Halloween. So that now puts us officially at Ike with 4 wins, Dave with 2 wins, and we have 3 draws. So I'm closing the gap.
That's right, closing the gap. See if we can get a couple more of these in before the end of the year to see if we can either tie it up or.
You watch, we'll end up in a tie. We'll end up like 4-4-4 or some weird. And if that's the case, Hey, that'd be all right. Because if that's the case, then on our year in review, we may have to have a tiebreaker for that. So,
True.
all right. Well, there you have it. That is another edition of Stump the Co-host. And if you were listening, you just heard the rare instance of me winning. So, yay. So let's see.
I got stumped, man. I got stumped.
Yeah. Again, if you had just watched the movie I've been telling you to watch, it would have helped you.
No, would
But,
have tied us up.
Yep. So let me go take a victory lap, and when we come back, we'll have the news, birthdays, and anniversaries. So stick around. Make sure you subscribe to listen to their screams on your favorite podcast platform. Also, make sure you look us up on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, TikTok, and Slasher. All you have to do is look up Listen to Screams. That is Listen, the number 2 and Screams, and you can find us there. Also, make sure you go and buy yourself a Listen to Their Screams t-shirt. You can find all of our shirts at tinyurl.com/Screams Shirts.
Spreading the news. Spreading the news. Spreading the news. And welcome back. Let's get into the news. All right. So we got some cool stuff coming up. First thing here, I'm actually super pumped about. It's a Wonderful Knife is coming to Shudder to stream on December 1st. I watched this not too long ago in theaters. I was super stoked for this. Actually, to be fair, I'll be honest, I wasn't stoked for this movie. My wife was stoked for this movie, and she kind of was like, yeah, let's go watch it. And I'm like, okay, I'll go watch it. But I'm so glad I did. Loved it a lot. So I'm super excited for Dave to watch it on Shudder.
Yeah, it means that we'll be able to fully review it in December like we had planned. So
holla holla. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this.
Holla holla.
Holla holla. But honestly, though, I'm excited for Dave to watch it because I think this is going to be one of those rare instances that, like, either he's going to really like it or he's going to really hate it. So we'll see. All right. And another streaming announcement, which I'm also super excited about, The Exorcist Believer, coming to Peacock on December 1st as well. This is actually one of those movies that I watched the one time, kind of been wanting to watch it again. So Peacock will have that on December 1st.
Yeah. I mean, it's we did a review on this, so if anybody wants to know what we thought after seeing it in theaters, go back and listen to that. And if I remember right, I was a little lukewarm on it, but I didn't hate it. But yeah, it's a movie that I would definitely like to give another watch.
Yep, that's right. And you are correct. You did have a lukewarm reception on it. I had a little bit more positive reception, but we both enjoyed it for the most part. But like that, Dave said, just go ahead and give that a check out on one of our more recent episodes. It actually wasn't that long ago to think about it. Anywho, this just a real quick note. This year has gone by so fast; it's not even funny. Like, I sometimes forget that, like, some of these movies we just reviewed not even a month ago.
Yeah.
But anywho, this one's actually very, very, very timely. But Nika has announced that John Carver. Now, if you're wondering who John Carver is, we'll talk about it later. He's a character from the movie Thanksgiving, but he's going to have a figure based on the character from Thanksgiving, as I just said, and it will be released, including a 7-inch deluxe figure, and a Toonie Terrace figure, and an 8-inch clothed figure, and many more. We'll talk about the movie later. I love this character, so I'm pretty stoked about a Nika action figure. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. There's plush stuff. There's even a plush of the turkey guy from the parade, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, there's all kinds of. And clearly they had this all lined up, ready to do the merchandise push on this. And and again, we'll talk about it a little bit. But it is highly appropriate because John Carver is rarely a marketable, memorable character. So. Yeah,
absolutely. And then one little bit of, I guess, I would say this is bad news. Melissa Barrera, who, for those who are not wise to it, who haven't seen the movies yet, plays a character named Sam Carpenter in the most recent sequel/requels to the Scream franchise, has been announced reportedly. Again, this hasn't been fully substantiated, but it is reported that she will no longer be starring in Scream 7, according to the Hollywood Reporter Online. The actor was dropped from the project after a series of social media posts in the wake of the Israel-Hamas war. Barrera played Sam Carpenter, as mentioned, in Scream and Scream 6. And again, unconfirmed, just a rumor at this point. And obviously we don't want to get too much into the politics of this, but this is a very unfortunate announcement. Melissa Barrera was a fantastic asset to the films in question, so it is definitely sad to see her go.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's completely upended their plans for the next movie. There is lots of reports that Neve Campbell will be back for Scream 7, so I'm sure they had it mapped out. And like when we reviewed Scream 6, we talked about how it partially felt like they had thought that Neve Campbell would be there, and then when they found out she wasn't going to be, they had to kind of alter things, and maybe that hurt the film. And so I wonder what, again, they haven't even started filming this thing, so it's, we're a long way from worrying about that. But I mean, it's gonna be weird. I would find it a little humorous if they do the exact same thing they did with Neve Campbell's character Sydney, and they just talk to her sister like, oh, so how's Sam? Oh, she's doing great, and just play it off like like they did with Sydney. I would find that a little humorous, but I don't know. It is unfortunate. It is what it is. This stuff happens, and but it's while we had some I had some disappointments with Scream 6. The rumor that Neve Campbell was coming back, it made me hopeful for the 7. I really was hoping they would go out strong and everything else. And now, I don't know. Now that there's a little things in flux and things happening, it makes me wonder what will we get now, and what will happen, and it clearly will not be the product they had intended. And again, I mean, this is a reputable source. The only reason that we're actually putting it out there is because it is a reputable source that's reporting this, but it has not been confirmed on the studio side or the film side. So at this stage of the game, until there's an official statement from them, we have to tag it as a rumor. But it is, and it's just broke just a little bit before we started recording, and it's spread like wildfire already. I mean, everybody online is talking about this already, and everybody, politics aside, right? We're not talking politics here. We just don't do that, right? That doesn't have any. There's no skin in this game for us with politics and what we're talking here, for what we do. But all that aside, I mean, the consensus is, it's disappointing she won't be there. Whether you agree, you disagree, whatever, that's beside the point. It is disappointing that she will not be in the next film. So, rumored, allegedly. So we'll see what happens. Hey, fingers crossed that maybe someone jumped the gun in reporting this. It's not like that hadn't happened before.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We'll see. But as we stand now, that's the word. That's the rumor. So we'll see how this pans out. So don't shoot us. We're just reporting what we hear.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. That's right. Also unsubstantiated. Yeah. All right. On a lighter note, let's talk about some birthdays. Got some pretty cool ones. November 23rd, 1987, Boris Karloff, Frankenstein, among other fantastical characters from the day and age of Boris Karloff. Obviously, Dave loves Boris Karloff. I love Boris Karloff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a very big discussion because it's one of my favorite things to talk about, the history of horror movies and the history of some of the movies that really created the genre. And Frankenstein definitely aided in the contribution of horror in the grand scheme of things. So Boris Karloff is a legend. Absolutely.
Yep, he is. And then in his portrayal of Frankenstein, again, we talked about it not too long ago when we talked about Bela Lugosi and his birthday. The Boris Karloff's portrayal of Frankenstein, that is the consensus pop culture. That is what we see. The flat head, this and that, blah blah blah. That's Boris Karloff's now, I'm not saying he was the one that designed it per se, but his his portrayal of it, that's what we mostly envision. When we envisioned Frankenstein, and he was perfect in the role. He knew what to do. He knew how to act it. Up to removing, he had a bridge, and he removed the bridge in his mouth to help give his face that sunken look a little more. That was perfect, and just this and that. But and on top of everything else, you hear the stories that Boris Karloff was just was such a great guy, right? You always hear how, he was, such a sweet guy. And so good to the fans up to, all the way up to his death. And, he was just, he continually worked, right? He just acted in all sorts of things because he enjoyed it and did lots of things. Later in his life, did some things. I don't want to say spoof or made fun of, but tongue in cheek about the Frankenstein character, on some comedy shows and different things, taking it all in jest that, hey, it's fun and, a good, in good spirits about it. So, and, and he did, there were scenes in that where he had to carry the girl up the windmill and the guy up the doctor up the windmill and stuff. And it hurt his back, and he had to do, take after take after take, and he continued to do it and never complained. And I mean, just you hear all kinds of great stories about Boris Karloff. I love Boris Karloff, and again, like we've said a million times, everybody knows how much I love that his movie, that 1931's Frankenstein. So, and, I feel like this is one of the more iconic birthdays that we can celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and then we also have November 24th, 1916. Forrest J. Ackerman, the founding editor of the Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. I'm not familiar with this at all, but I'm sure Dave is.
Yeah, I mean, this is for anybody that's a little bit older. The magazine actually kind of predates me somewhat. There was still some in print when I was young, but I had a ton secondhand. But for older fans, this was this was the it thing for monster movies and horror and everything else. This magazine, and Forrest J. Ackerman was, Uncle Forrest, Uncle Fozzie was the greatest. He was the guy. I mean, he was such a supporter of monster movies and horror. Had an iconic. His home was in California. This iconic collection of memorabilia, just unbelievable. I mean, just so many masks and props and everything else. And was such. I mean, if anybody was going and got in touch with him, he would just bring people in and tour his home and show them stuff and everything. Just he was just such a proponent. And dabbled in some film stuff. Trying to some low B movie type stuff. Of producing and doing different things and different other magazines as well. But Famous Monsters, which now Famous Monsters hopefully will have a bit of a resurgence in different avenues because the what's his name, Corey Taylor from Slipknot, I think, isn't that his name?
Yeah.
He owns the trademark now and the company now, and I don't know whether they're going to go back to actual printing per se, but there's supposedly going to be some convention stuff and marketing stuff and different things that they're going to do to try to bring the name back into the modern times. But yeah, for older fans of monster movies and horror, I mean, Famous Monsters, I mean, it's iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't heard of it, but at the same time, it's definitely a little bit before my time. But it's cool to hear that they're going to make a hopefully resurgence with this. So very cool.
Yeah, and I mean, little known, the logo, our logo for all of our banners and artwork and this and that, is that font is the old Famous Monsters font. So.
Well, I don't know. I actually didn't know that. Well, that's good to know. Little fun fact, little behind the scenes for you. Can't beat that. All right. So we have two more little birthdays here. On November 28th, 1958, we have Tom Matthews, who is Tommy in Friday the 13th, Part 6. Trying to remember, that's the Jason Lives, right? That's the one where he comes back from the dead? Okay, good. That's what I was thinking. So we've actually talked about a lot, some of our favorite Friday the 13th films. We talked about this one quite a bit because there's a lot of correlations between this and Frankenstein. So this is a conversation we've had many a time before for this movie. But, Tom Matthews is fantastic. He did a really good job as Tommy Jarvis, even though I think Corey Feldman was maybe a little bit better as Kid Tommy in Part 4.
Yeah, I mean, this is Part 6 is a fun movie. I love Part 6, and yeah, he did a good job. And like I said, we talked about recently, it's a couple of fan films recently, I think, called Never Hike Alone and Never Hike Alone 2, and Tom Matthews is in them, reprising his role as Tommy, and so it's fun stuff.
Yeah, I need to check those out. I know you sent those to me, and I love a good fan film. So, And then I guess I gotta mention his birthday, but also on November 28th, one of the wives, Monica, it's her birthday. So
Yep.
happy birthday, Monica. Even though you stressed me out on the show, I wish you a happy birthday nonetheless.
Yes, yes. Even though she gives us hell on here in the wives' rebuttals and so forth, but yes, it is her birthday, so happy birthday, dear.
There you go. All right, so a couple of upcoming movie anniversaries. These are actually both shared with Monica's birthday, funnily enough. But 1928, 1989, Psycho Cop. I've never seen Psycho Cop, but I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
Is it on the list? Is it on the Dave's watch list?
I don't think so, but I'll put it on there.
Yes, put it on there. There are a couple sequels that are not as good, but man, the first one, I love Psycho Cop. Psycho Cop, again, is a fun 80s movie, and it's just fun. It's got a great premise, and it's a fun movie. Gotta watch it.
All right, it's on the list. And then we also have a newer movie, November 28th, 2014, The Babadook. The Babadook. Love The Babadook. It's one of my favorite movies from the 2010s. It's a very divisive movie. I've seen a lot of negative reception for the movie online. A lot of people don't think it's that scary. A lot of people aren't really into that kind of horror. And that's cool. It's not everybody's, cup of tea, but I quite enjoyed that movie. I think it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, just the name alone, it's just such a fun word to say. Babadook.
Babadook.
Sounds like a cartoon character.
It does. It does very much sound like a cartoon character. It makes me think that I'm going to be like, oh, here comes the good old Babadook. All right. And we have some upcoming releases. We actually talked about one of these last week. And then I saw the trailer for the other one of this on TikTok. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But upcoming releases, Blumhouse's upcoming movie Imaginary released their first trailer. The movie is described as a woman returns to her childhood home to discover that the imaginary friend she left behind is very real and very unhappy that she had abandoned him. The movie is scheduled to be released in theaters March 8th, 2024. I saw this trailer actually on TikTok, weirdly enough. My wife sent it to me, which I think there's also a huge conversation to talk about the absolute powerhouse of marketing that is TikTok. TikTok is so crazy with that stuff.
Yeah.
But this looks great. I will definitely be watching this. I'll watch anything Blumhouse, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, the imaginary friend concept, while nothing new and whatever else, it is clever. It is fun. There's so much they could do with it, and I mean, exceptionally creepy.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other film, which actually we talked about a little bit last week, is Founders Day. This is coming to theaters January 19, 2024. And the movie is a political slasher and described as a small town is shaken by a series of ominous killings in the days leading up to a heated mayoral election. So last week, I guess I sort of incorrectly compared it to Thanksgiving and said it was sort of a knockoff. So I guess it's technically not a knockoff. But when I watched the trailer, it just seems super close to the same like the killer wears a mask, okay, and it looks very close to John Carver. So I don't come for me with that one. I guess we'll watch it in January and see how that plays out.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, sounds intriguing. I'll give anything a shot. Sounds interesting, and I'm sure it'll be a strong candidate for a January review for us.
Yep, that's right. Can't beat a slasher in January. All right, so there you have it. That's all the news, upcoming releases, birthdays, and so on. I always say it once, I'll say it a million times. If you don't follow us on social media, you're a fucking loser. So follow us on social media. Make sure you follow us for all these news and things because you hear it on here. But we like to remind you when it happens, keep you immersed, give you the full immersive experience. With that being said, up next, we have our official review of Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Stick around.
Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes.
All right, and we are back here on Listen to Their Screams, and we are reviewing Thanksgiving. A movie was written by Jeff Rindle. Well, actually, it's a story by Eli Roth. The screenplay is by Jeff Rindle and is directed, of course, by Eli Roth, starring Patrick Dempsey, Ty Olson, Gina Gershman, Lynn Griffin, all kinds of other people. There's all kinds of great people in this movie. It just recently came out in theaters. We will have next episode. We will probably talk the opening weekend box office numbers. I do not have those in front of me, but from what I've seen, what I've read, and even what I experienced going to the theater, it looks like it's done well. So I think it's done really, really well. Hopefully so. I mean, like we said, we've got a run of horror movies performing well, particularly on their opening weekends, and I don't think it's going to be any different. Again, this movie just recently came out, and man, I gotta say, I don't want to. I know we give spoilers and we give the warning, but I don't want to give away the big reveal, Ike, on who the killer is.
Okay.
Because it's still such a new movie. Well, let's leave that. But I will say this. Number one, I fucking love this movie. This movie was so much fun. This movie had all the vibes and feel of like an old slasher type movie, right? It was fun. It was well paced. Had a little gore, but not too much gore for those who don't like it or who do like it. There was some in there. And it also really didn't fall in too many of the traps of being too cheesy, right? There wasn't a whole lot of that. There was one line where they say something about this year there'll be no leftovers. That was a little cheesy. That was the only point in the movie I thought, man, that line was cheesy. Otherwise, I thought it was pretty well, pretty good, without avoiding the cheesy stuff. It had, like we talked about earlier, it had that marketable, memorable killer, main character killer, right? Who is John Carver, right? Who is a historical character, but I suppose I don't know a lot about him. I've heard that name, but this is who clearly is absolutely got the potential to just go right up there as one of the iconics of all time, because it's a great look. I mean, nothing fancy, right? It's it's just a mask of him, and it looks like a pilgrim, but it works, right? And he's got the kills primarily with an axe. It fits. It's just got all the rules, right, of being iconic and setting up what could be a really good franchise. I think there's a lot they could do with it, and they obviously left the door open for future installments. And but the movie to me was fun, right? It was there were some great kills, some really, really great kills. We'll talk about a couple of those because that's where the spoilers come in. I do want to talk about a couple of the kills. But the one thing that this movie did really well for me is, I didn't know for sure who was going to be the killer. I had 3 or 4 potentials, and I kept going back and forth on who it was. Right? There was 1 or 2 that they were obviously trying to push, and you thought, it's not going to be them. It's not going to be them. But I had 2 or 3 that I thought, it could be, and it turned out to be one of the ones I thought that it could be. But there wasn't enough there that I definitively knew, which I liked, right? It kept me intrigued. It kept me watching for any little breadcrumbs that might help me kind of determine who it was. And even when there was a reveal and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there it is. It's him. And even though I thought it could have been this person or this character, I wasn't disappointed because, again, I wasn't 100% sold on which way they were going yet. And I like that, right? It worked well. And while it wasn't anything huge and groundbreaking or genre changing, it was all right. It worked. It made sense. It was, to me, it was simple, clean, and fun, and it worked. And I don't know. I thought the movie was so damn enjoyable, and this is already going to be a yearly watch for me. No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I'll say. Obviously, like you said, no spoilers. Not going to spoil nothing. Don't want to give anybody any hints. But I do have to agree. I completely had no idea who the killer was. I had a couple ideas, but when they revealed it at the end, I was not expecting who it was. So I'm not going to say any more than that. But to add a couple comments, The people who act in this film did fantastic. There is a Supernatural alumni in this movie.
It
Ty
is.
Olson,
Yeah.
who plays
Benny.
Benny.
Uh-huh.
My wife was sitting next to me and she was like, "I know that guy. I've seen him before." And I'm like, "It's Benny. It's Benny. It's my boy Benny." And but everybody in this movie just did so good. They played the character that they were meant to play so freaking well. I mean, there were a couple characters that were truly meant to be hateable, and they were very hated. Hated their guts, 100%. And this actually one of the things about Thanksgiving that I think I really appreciate is that it definitely didn't take itself super seriously. I think one of the biggest issues with a lot of horror movies that we see nowadays is that they really try and be serious. They really try and be super, um, I'm trying to think of the word, but just super sophisticated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to realize that sometimes horror movies don't need to be sophisticated art pieces that talk about, these super deep issues. Now, I will say that there is a deep undertone of anti-commercialism in this,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it's about a Black Friday incident, and yeah. So the kind of the gist of this movie, it was super good, had a lot of great kills, honestly, some really brutal scenery and kills and moments, things that I truly were not expecting from this movie. I've seen a number of Eli Roth movies, such as Hostel, The Green Inferno, and those are some pretty extreme examples of his movies because they are very, very gruesome and very violent. So when I went into this movie, I was sort of thinking that he was not going to go super far out there because just based on the kind of movie this was, where they were going with it, I didn't think he was going to go that route, but he did. And this movie had a lot of fantastic kills. They were super
Yep.
brutal, very bloody, very just gory, and just very beautiful.
Yep. There are three moments that jumped out at me in this. And again, I don't want us to super give these away because I want people to appreciate them when they watch them. But just the gist of them. Number one, the trampoline kill was beautiful.
Yes.
And that made me cringe. And even though when it was happening, I thought I kind of knew what was going to happen, it made me cringe. Number two, these may be out of order, but the one with the waitress in the diner, it wasn't even the kill, but it was the getting her wet and sticking her against the refrigerator inside the freezer door. I was like, just to put her in place, just to hold her, so while he went and got a weapon. And I thought, man, it was very clever. Again, made me cringe. And obviously gave you thoughts of A Christmas Story with the tongue on the flagpole thing.
It did.
But then the most brilliant, and again, I don't want to give details, but let's just say the oven kill was absolutely a thing of grotesque beauty, and the aftermath of it. And when it was happening and developing, I kept thinking, man, are they gonna see this through? Are they really gonna do this? And they did, and it happened, and it both simultaneously kind of made me cringe and giggle because it was funny and it had some really, really hilarious aspects of it. But then it was like, ugh, this was really kind of, but it was clever and it looked so good, everything about it. So those three jumped at me. But again, you're right. There was lots of others. And that's why I said this movie, it feels like a flashback. It feels retro without feeling like dated. It inspires all the same feels of when you watched like a good Friday the 13th movie or something, where it's not overly complicated per se, but it's entertaining, it's fun, it's clever, got a little humor in it, a little twist or two to keep you on your toes, but it doesn't try to pretend that it's something that it's not. It just tries, it just has fun. And I think they pulled it off brilliantly.
Yeah. No, and I did want to add one other thing. The entire opening sequence of this movie, again, not going to throw any major spoilers out, but the entire opening sequence of this movie was so well done. I mean, it felt very cohesive. It felt natural. It honestly just felt like because for a slight bit of context, it's supposed to be a little bit of a what's the word a flashback kind of in the very beginning. but it
Yeah.
didn't feel like it. It just feels like part of the story, and it feels like a very necessary part of the story. It didn't use any of the cheesy ways that sometimes movies use to try and like flash back. It just seemed like a cohesive story, and it was so well done. But that opening scene,
Well,
the first like 20 minutes,
yeah, you're talking about the Black Friday, right? The whole
yep,
Black Friday thing. Yeah, it was
yep,
kind of the foundation that the whole movie's built on, right? Because of what happened in that first 15, 20 minutes, that Black Friday. That's what the entire movie is based on, and how
yeah,
how these characters came to be, and situations came to be, and everything else. It is literally what the entire story spun out of, and it was just, it was chaotic and crazy, and had so much. There were so many fun like kills and injuries and different things, and then just literally that whole aspect of that's where the commercialism side of things were happening, but people were so consumed by the sale that they didn't care or didn't notice some of the things that were happening around them, and it
yeah.
was it was great, and and even how they set up that it occurred, right, where it spawned out of these main characters and a little high school rivalry they had with another high school that really kind of really spawned this entire thing of happening. Um, because without that, it really wouldn't have probably occurred and got out of hand. And it's
Right.
and all that's, I mean, that is literally the foundation that everything's built upon. And it was crazy. It was great. I mean, that alone was worth the movie itself, just watching that.
That's what I was gonna say. That opening scene was just insane. And like you said, the entire film is predicated by this. It is the literal basis and foundation of everything that happens. Now, I will say something too, is that something I enjoyed about this movie is they didn't try to make the killer understandable. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, the killer, no spoilers here, but the killer, their he or she's rationale to this was not justified, at least in my opinion. I felt like as much as as much as you might want to sympathize with this person's reasoning, it to me felt very unjustified. And honestly,
Yeah.
just it felt a little chaotic, but it still sort of makes you look into the mind of someone who is sick in the head.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting when they did make the reveal, and I was like, okay. I mean, I see why they did. I should say. I keep wanting to say he, but it may not be a he, but it just makes you look at it and say, wow, okay, I guess it makes sense, but it also doesn't. Which I enjoyed because it definitely created some sort of divide in your head. Because sometimes you watch these movies and you're like, okay, I mean, I guess it makes sense. You know what I mean? It makes sense why this person does what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
it is the perfect villain foundation, because the best villain, whether you agree with them or not, the best villain can justify what they're doing in their head. And they don't think they're the villain. They think they're doing the right thing and for the right reasons, and they think everybody else is wrong. So while we can sit here and think that's a stretch, right? It's a little much of what happened there, and it's a shaky foundation for why you did that. You can also say, okay, in his shoes, not saying you would do it, but in their shoes, we say his. What? God damn it, we just keep whatever. Anyway, in that character's shoes, you can see how they think they're justified. You can see how with some trauma, some mental instability, or whatever it might be, how they can feel justified in their actions. So it's at least there's something there, right? That you can say, yeah, I can see it, even if it's not right. I can see
right,
it, so that it's not just a whole, well, why the fuck is this person? Why are they even doing that? It makes no sense. Why would they even do this? There's at least enough reasoning there to say, okay, well, I kind of see how this person snapped and
right.
went down this route. So
It's funny you say shoes because shoes is kind of what throws
mm,
basically what gets the person in trouble.
yeah,
So it's funny you said shoes. But anyways, I think the only thing I want to really kind of talk about this movie, is that, I something I was skeptical about going into it. But I think it kind of played into it a little well because this movie has a lot of fantastic actors. And I mean, Patrick Dempsey he alone carries this movie. I mean, he's super funny. I think his character is quite hilarious because he has some funny little quips and kind of how he faces the danger.
People's sexiest man of the year.
That's right. That's right. But it's Patrick Dempsey. I mean, come on, he's hilarious.
McDreamy.
McDreamy. It's funny because at least as far as I know, he's only been in 2 horror movies, which is this one and Scream 3, right?
Yes, I mean he's alluded to obviously because his character ends up marrying Sydney, so they mention him by name later, and whatever the actual later Scream, I think they mention him when they're talking to Nev. They mention his character, but yeah. So perhaps I wonder. It is curious. I wonder if Nev Campbell does come back, if there's a chance he'll be back too.
I think that'd be cool. But the kind of the thing I was nervous about with Thanksgiving though. Speaking of actors, they had some of these really great actors and actresses that have been in stuff before, but you also had Addison Rae. So for people who don't know, Addison Rae is literally just a TikToker, and I don't mean that in like a derogatory way. I mean she is just a TikToker, but I'm pretty sure this is her first acting credit. But she plays the girl that I think she ends up surviving. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but she's with one of the main guys. Oh man, I can't remember her name now. I'm gonna look her up while I'm talking here, but her name is Gabby. So she's
Gabby.
she's with Evan, which is, again, I don't want to throw any spoilers out there.
Is Gabby the Russian girl?
No, she's the non-Russian girl.
Okay, so she's not the main character girl.
No, not the main girl.
And not the Russian girl. She's the third girl in this friend group.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So, but Addison Rae, I think she has a couple. Actually, she does have a couple of other acting credits, but I think this is like her actual first movie because she'd been like TV shows and stuff before. But I think I'm pretty sure this is her first movie. I could be wrong, but I thought she did pretty good because going into it, I saw the acting, the credits and stuff like that, and I was kind of worried. I was like, I don't see how she fits into the movie or fits into the kind of storyline overall, or how she could fit into the cast overall. But I will give her props. She did very good. She did a fantastic job playing the character she was meant to play. It was very believable. So, I did want to mention that one little snippet that I was very pleasantly surprised that somebody who is known for TikTok made it their way into this movie, and in my opinion, was a very successful and enjoyable part of the movie. So, just a little nod of the hat to her.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't have a huge role. I mean, it was a pretty good role, but not, not like this super large role. But yeah, they did all right. I think everybody acted really well in it. No one jumped out at me as really stinking up the joint. I think everybody held their own enough in the ensemble kind of cast that they had, and it worked well. I thought it was well.
I agree. But I think I can't think of anything else I want to add to this. I guess it's time for us to go ahead and throw a rating at this bitch.
Yeah. Do you want to go or you want me to go?
You can go first. I'll let you go first. You take
All right. Well, since we pretty much rate movies on enjoyability for us, but again, I don't creatively see any flaws in it.
Right.
Like I said, this movie absolutely just it's right in my wheelhouse of the type of movie I like. It was fun. It was quick moving enough. It kept my attention. It had everything that I like in a horror movie, that my favorite horror movies that I enjoy. So, and again, this will be absolutely a yearly rewatch. I'm so glad now that there's a strong movie to watch every year around Thanksgiving.
What, Thanksgiving's not good enough for you?
No. I'm sorry. I tried. I tried and wanted to like it, but I'm sorry to those all them, but just doesn't have the rewatchability for me. But this one does. So just based on all that alone, I mean, man, I have to say, I gotta say, I'm going all. I gotta give it a 4 out of 5 because I don't see anything about this movie for me personally that I disliked. I don't think it's groundbreaking at all or anything else, but I don't see flaws in it. And I don't know. I mean, I know some people are going to look at it with a critical eye, and they're going to say, "Well, you know, this, that, it wasn't super." Who cares? And I just don't. I don't see any major flaws in it for me, as the entertainment value and how fun it was. And so, since we rate on enjoyment, not necessarily whatever technicality, the technical aspects. I think this movie's pulling a 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I honestly have to agree. And the reason I have to agree with you for the 4 out of 5 rating is primarily because when you look at this movie, you're going to see a slasher, right? This is a true to form slasher. This reminds me of the old days of slashers. This reminds me of the golden age where you could make a movie with a somewhat unrealistic plot line. You could, because I mean, it's not even that unrealistic, really, though. But I mean, you make this movie, you kind of expand, and you use hyperbole, and you really just throw out there all these kind of crazy ideas. But you're able to make this cohesive story, and you're using these actors who some of them are very well established to create the story that, I mean, like I said, it's not that crazy. It's a little crazy, but it's not that crazy. It has a very fun, enjoyable story. It's something that I would definitely rewatch. I would watch another movie if they made another one. I told
Yeah.
that to Kayla. I said I could see them making another movie. They definitely left it open on a cliffhanger. I think John Carver could come back for sure, and I hope he does. I hope John Carver,
Yeah.
the character, the serial killer, or the mask. I hope they do come back because I think there's so much you could do with this character, and it could be a horror movie icon one day. So yeah,
Yeah.
4 out of 5 for me. This movie did a lot for me. It really,
Yep.
like you said, it struck my wheelhouse. It's a slasher. It was fun. It was funny. I chuckled heartily at a few parts, and I was just like, this is a fun, enjoyable movie. So, for sure, 4 out of 5 for me as well.
Yep. I like I said, I think John Carver's a very iconic character that can really stand the test of time, depending on what they do
Yeah.
with it. And again, without giving away any major spoilers, they've obviously left the door open for sequels, but they've also, I don't know how to put this without giving anything away. They have left the door open where they could do quite a bit with a sequel. And let's just say they could very much have John Carver come back without even necessarily casting the person who played John Carver in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was
So
going to say too.
they've left it open in case something happened, in case they need to, right? Creatively, they could do something with that. And so that's a plus, I think. And who knows? I mean, this, there's with streaming services or whatever, we could, if we could get several more of these, who knows? And I hope we do. I hope we do, at least get another. And the way they left it open, one would hope that maybe Eli Roth already has some ideas in mind of something to do. But again, I love the movie. I thought it was so enjoyable. And I think when we have our talks, as we sit right now, is when we have our talks about our favorite of the year, this one's going to be in the running for me so far. It's just because it was. I mean, again, I don't really know what people are saying about it. I don't know what the people are rating this thing or whatever. I've not really paid much attention online to this per se. Been too busy. But I don't see how people could find flaws with it. It was just because it's fun and it's enjoyable. And man, if you can't let loose and just have fun with the movie, I don't know. I don't think you're doing it right. And and I know there are people out there who have trouble with that, obviously, but and are overly critical. But I thought it was a blast. It was a blast to see it in the theater. It was a blast to see it so close to Thanksgiving. And again, though, I am a sucker for holiday horror. I do love holiday themed horror, and and obviously, we've got a slew of great, Christmas horror movies. There's a ton of those out there, some really, really great ones. And then, a bunch, but we don't we don't have a lot of good Thanksgiving ones, obviously, and some of the other holidays. So I'm glad to see someone has creatively come up with something for an underutilized holiday in the horror genre. So hats off. And
hats off indeed.
pilgrim hats or whatever they're
Pilgrim
called.
hats. Yeah. The buckle hats or whatever they call them.
Yeah, buckle, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, like again, an iconic, like it's one of those characters that we're going to no doubt start seeing people cosplaying that in conventions. I can only imagine. I mean, it's a great looking character.
That's what I was going to say too. I think this will be a really good, this will be a good Halloween character for next year. I think a lot of people will dress up as him.
Yeah.
It's super simple. Black clothing, the mask, and a hat and boots or whatever you want to wear.
Yep. And that's why I think they were ready to roll out the merchandising for it, because it's such a great looking character that's underutilized. You don't a Killer Pilgrim character. You don't, it's not out there, and it's great. I mean, I definitely want, some figures of it. I definitely would want the Toonie Terror. I definitely would love to have the 6-inch kind of deluxe figure, and whatever. I mean, there's lots of things I'd like to have for it. I think it's a great looking character. I'm a huge fan of it already, just with the one movie.
Dave is a John Carver stan.
I am, yeah. And even if this is all we get, it's just this one, it's going to be one of those movies that years from now I'll still be saying, oh, that was a like a Sleepaway Camp or like a Killer Clowns or whatever. It's going to be one of those movies that I'm going to say, oh, this is just a fun movie that I always loved watching, that was just enjoyable and I like to go back to. And it fits, vibe wise and the feeling wise for me watching it. It fits right up with those kind of movies, as just being something that's really fun and enjoyable and easy to watch. So
absolutely agree.
And I think we need more movies like that. We need more movies that don't try to overly take themselves and try to be too overly artistic. And there's places for that or whatever else, but there's also some people just need to learn to go out and just make a fun movie.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think, before we close out, I think that was the intention here, because it's very clear. I think that when Eli Roth went in to make this movie, he said, obviously I could be just making shit up, but in my mind, how I envisioned his conversation with his producers and stuff was, I just want to make a good movie. I want to make I want to make an enjoyable slasher, something that we don't see often. And I just wanted to really hit home for those real true slasher fans, because really that's how it came across. It came across as a movie with some passion to it. So I'm glad it got made.
Yeah, you mean you're not the official spokesperson for Eli Roth, where you can definitively say that with?
I'm not, but if Eli Roth wants to hit me up and employ me to do that, I will 100% do that. Willing to relocate.
Oh, Eli Roth, hire and listen to the screams for his
his official spokespeople. Yeah.
I just have to laugh at that because Eli wouldn't know what he was doing there.
No, if he hired us, I think that'd probably be a pretty bad financial decision. I mean,
anything Eli Roth makes him now on, I'd like storming his office and say, "What the fuck you doing, Eli? We don't want this shit. We want Thanksgiving too."
Right. Be like, I have some really good ideas for a Thanksgiving sequel called Black Friday. I'm ready, man.
Fuck this shit. Bring back John Carver.
What do you mean you're making a Hostel 5? Give me John Carver.
Or at least put him in Hostel 5.
Right, yeah. Make him the killer in Hostel 5.
Oh, well. I think we just shot ourselves in the foot for that job opportunity.
Hopefully not. No.
We love you, Eli. Call us.
Right, I love you, Eli. Call me.
I love you, Eli, for no other reason that you gave me this movie, Thanksgiving. I am forever grateful, because I enjoyed this movie a lot. And there you go. Can't wait for it to come out digitally, because even if it won't be Thanksgiving, I may give it another watch.
That's what I was gonna say. I think it'll do good digitally too. I think this will be a really strong digital release.
I do too. Yeah. But we're on the cusp of Christmas horror movies, which I love. Those are some of my favorites. And while we won't, some of them we won't be reviewing. Some of them we reviewed last year, and the classics, the older stuff. I love my Silent Night Daily Night rewatches and my Black Christmas rewatches and Krampus and all that. I love them. So I'm ready to get into those. But I love Christmas, and when you can mix two of my loves, it's a good thing. But we're not quite there yet. We do have one more episode in the month of November, and that is the next episode, which we will be reviewing Night of the Missing, which is available on November 28th on Screambox. We've heard a lot about this movie. Seen a lot talk about it, and it is coming exclusively to Screambox on November 28th, and we will be reviewing that for our next episode. And then once we conclude that, we will officially be in Christmas land, and it'll be time for Christmas horror, and time for whatever, eggnog and mistletoe and all that good shit. So bring it on. But like I said, one more movie, Night of the Missing, coming next week. And like Ike said earlier, make sure you subscribe to us on social media. Follow us on social media. We're on all those platforms, and we put out everything we talk about pretty much in the episodes, and then so much more. If anything's really breaking, we usually put it up there. Or there's some things sometimes we stumble across that we didn't catch before the episode, and we'll put it up there, and lots of other things that we put up. So follow us on whatever social media platform you prefer, or if you like them all, we're out there on all of them. So just look us up. We're Listen to Screams. Listen, the number 2 in Screams. And make sure whatever podcast platform that you prefer to listen to us on, that you do subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Just set us to auto download so you never have to worry about it. And whatever platform you're on, if there's an option to rate and review us, please do that, because that helps us in those algorithms. And when people are when people are listening to other similar podcasts, we come up as a suggested listen. And who knows? Someone might be listening to Joe Blow Reviews Horror and look down and say, well, who are these fine-looking fat dudes talking? Listen to their screams, and they might get hooked. But our greatest weapon is your word of mouth. So as you're out there, make sure you share on social media. Make sure you tell your friends, tell your followers, tell your constituents, whatever place you are in life, whatever you got. Just tell them. Just tell them to listen to old Dave and Ike. They're good dudes, and they are positive horror fans, which sometimes you don't. In all genres of fandom, it's hard to, sometimes you don't get that, but we try to remain positive. And sometimes I know I get a little grumpy, but that's okay. So be it. Not when we're watching a movie like Thanksgiving, though. It makes me happy, warms me to my soul. And I'm going to just suggest that during Thanksgiving dinner this year, we just watch the trailer on loop or something. But
yeah, until it comes on streaming at least.
Yeah, I don't think Monica will be down for that, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we'll see. True. So, Ike, before we close this thing out and move on, anything you want to say?
Well, just have a safe and happy Thanksgiving, and just be very wary of any pilgrims you might see.
Absolutely, especially if they're carrying an axe. They're probably not chopping wood. Just steer clear. And just keep on heading to grandma's, and don't even stop. But yeah, this episode will be dropping on Thanksgiving. Maybe if you're traveling, maybe we've provided a little entertainment for your ride. We hope so. But yeah, like I said, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and hopefully everybody gets a full belly and spends lots of fun time with family and enjoys the break from work that most of us get. And gear up, because Black Friday is the day after. Just be wary. If you haven't seen Thanksgiving, bad shit can spin on a Black Friday. So just be wary. Be careful. And if you do go out and Black Friday shop, in all seriousness, just be careful, and just be fucking nice to everybody, right? Don't, come on. I mean, like they say in the movie, fucking hurting someone ain't worth a waffle iron. Just be cool and be kind to people, and don't be dicks. That's all I ask. But until next week, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.